Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today is Jeff Dostalek from Fitch-Rona EMS, Deputy Chief, and so much more. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining me for a little
Sure.
bonus interview action. Love it.
Sure.
Well, and I'm still partial to EMS, so I'm throwing that out there because for those who know me, I love public safety first and foremost. But
there you go. I appreciate that.
You know, EMS, just it's a tiny thing in my heart here. But anyway, there you go, Jeff. Today we wanted to make sure I have a chance. We got a couple of topics to talk about. We'll talk about levodopa, part of a program coming out here. We'll break that down, but also talk about severe weather. It's been pretty nasty already this year, and we got severe weather awareness coming up in the month of April. So Jeff, we'll pick your brain on that. But starting with levodopa, for people not familiar with this program, tell us what this is about and why it's so important.
So sure, this is a program that Fitch-Rona has been putting together for the last week or two, maybe 2 weeks. Essentially, the premise behind it is if we go out on an EMS call for somebody that is overdosed, with the assumption that the overdose is a narcotic, that our crews have the ability to leave a dose of Narcan, so a nasal atomizer dose of Narcan with some information on how to get some assistance if they're looking to get into recovery, that information to the family members as well. And then we would leave that packet or that little package with them, do a quick on-site training on how to do it. And if they're transported to the hospital, that's wonderful. They would still get that packet of information in the Narcan at the hospital. And if they decide that they don't want to go, we can leave it with them and the family members. And that way, we can feel a little bit more assured that if something does happen after we leave and they re-overdose, that at least they've had some Narcan there to protect them. Program has been very successful in West Dallas Fire Department does a similar program, and Gunderson Lutheran up in the La Crosse area has a really successful community paramedic program that they leave a dose of Narcan with them. So we're working on a partnership with Safe Communities, and as you know, that's an amazing organization that helps protect our community on a bunch of different levels. They were really excited when I brought this to them. In fact, we've gotten some Narcan already from them, and they were assured us that their recovery coaches, their ED to recovery coaches, will be part of this program and be available to us if needed. And then Dane County Madison Public Health has been really supportive of the idea. I don't think there's any EMS agencies in Dane County that are leaving a dose at kind of like the time of service. There are programs out there where you can call. I know Madison Fire has a program through Pathways that you can call, and they're doing some stuff with Narcan. But as far as I know, and the reason that I'm really kind of passionate about this is that we're able to, I think it's at some point, whether we know it or not, save a life by leaving some Narcan somewhere with a patient that has a history of overdosing. And if we can just do that once and give them another opportunity to get into some sort of assistance, or if we go there 3 times and we leave 3 kits for them, and that 4th time they finally decide they want to get into a recovery program, that we can just keep making sure that they stay alive to do that. And that's why I'm really passionate about this. Some stuff still to put into play. We've got a training for our staff, and I want to make sure, you know, that the medical director is completely on board with this, and Chief Anderson's been really supportive of it. And so I think once we get this together and roll it out, it will be wildly successful in our area, and hopefully we can expand it out to the county at some point.
Jeff, for folks not familiar with how Narcan works and understanding overdose, why are we giving the Narcan in an overdose situation? And when you're referring to overdose too, that might look a little bit different, but I guess talk about the scenario where this is used for folks who are not familiar with this.
Sure. So the Narcan is used for patients that overdose from a narcotic. So that could be anything from heroin to somebody accidentally takes some oxycodone or something that has a narcotic in it. And it depresses your respiratory system, you pass out, and then you stop breathing. The Narcan is a reversal agent for that. So for us, as paramedics and EMTs, we can administer it a couple of different ways. Either through an IV, we can nasally atomize it, so spray it up the nostrils, and that's what the police department's carrying. And this program will have the nasal atomizer as well. So if they don't have to do any sort of IVs, they don't have to poke anybody, they just have to be able to squirt it up somebody's nose. And so that's why I think this program will be successful. And we know people overdose from other things other than narcotics, but the one that's really the epidemic that we have in our community, and that is a narcotic overdose. And that's why I think this is important.
Yeah,
we do about, I would say on average, we administer 2 to 5 doses of Narcan a month. So we don't have it, we have it in our community, and we have it in call volume that we have at Fitch-Rona. But what about those times where maybe it's the second time and they didn't call the ambulance, and either somebody died in the process or took themselves to the hospital. I just think it gives people another segue into trying to get some assistance if that's something that they desire to do. And well, I know there are people out there that say, well, you just give it to them and you're going to just encourage them to do it again and again. And that's probably true. There might be some enabling of the Narcan, but in my opinion, if we can do that 2 or 3 times, and that 4th time somebody finally says, I really need to get some help. And where is that number again that we got from that little kid that the ambulance driver gave us? And there it is. And they call a recovery coach, and the recovery coach is on call 24 hours a day in our community. We call a recovery coach, or they get into a program. Well, then it's successful to me, and somebody's is going to be saved. So that's why I think the effort of us putting this together, and the amount of, it's going to be limited cost to us, because Safe Communities, Dane County Public Health, and the Narcan Direct program through the state of Wisconsin is going to help us with the drug.
Yeah, this is an amazing thing. And really, when you say, you said it kind of quick, but 2 to 5 doses administered per month from EMS, that's a startling number. That, I know it doesn't seem like that on the surface, but that's, that's just shows how much of it is an epidemic in the area. And if just Fitch-Rona does 2 to 5 and just in our districts, think of that across the area here. So definitely has an importance. And we'll follow up on this, Jeff, once it gets up and running with you. Looking forward to sharing some successes on that. Real quick, turning attention to Severe Weather Awareness Week coming up here in April. Jeff, from your standpoint, what would you say people should do to look at their preparedness, if you will, and being ready for any type of severe weather?
Sure. Yeah. So Severe Weather Awareness Week, and I know you'll touch on it as it gets closer, April 12th through the 16th. On average, Wisconsin has about 23 tornadoes annually. We've already had one this year, which was an EF1 tornado. They have confirmed 28 tornado touchdowns in the state of Wisconsin in 2019. So I think the important thing to remember as we move into severe weather is just being prepared, making sure that you have a little kit, where you're going to go when the tornado comes, what kinds of stuff do you have in your little safety kit. So flashlight, batteries, cell phone, making sure your cell phone is charged, making sure that you have a little first aid kit available in the event that, something catastrophic happens and somebody does get hurt. And just kind of a weather radio, just being aware of what is happening. And then what is your plan when that does happen? And I think that'll save more lives than, just like going outside like I probably will and watch the storm roll through, because that's how we are. you know, we need to be prepared and be ready to go into a safe shelter when that happens. So the reason I wanted to bring it up today is because, you know, we're going to get to that point rather quickly. We're going to see severe weather, and you know, we want to make sure that we're safe when we do that.
Jeff, we've seen a lot on severe flooding over the last several years from these storms. For folks trying to get and wrap their head around that, that happens very quickly. And in one case, when we had it severe that year, it came in at 5 p.m. and they were still doing rescues, you know, after midnight because of the darkness and stuff. But flooding, you know, when we think severe weather, we think tornadoes and those sort of things, but flooding comes in there just as much, and not just at the beginning and during, but also afterwards too, for safety.
Yeah, that was, I remember it was a couple of years ago when we had some of those severe floods, especially in the town of Verona. And you have that water that's crossing the road, and it might be just a half an inch or an inch of water, and you can barely see the road. And I know people try to drive through that stuff and, you know, wind up going into the ditch because they can't control their car. And that has a lot to do with being prepared. And, you know, if a road is shut down and you see barricades across the road, you know, it's that way for a reason. And, you know, the sheriff's department or the highway departments or EMS or fire, we don't want to shut the road down if we don't have to. But if you see those things, you know, just heed the warning. Make sure that you have a plan, so you know, if you live in a flood prone area, what it's going to be like in the spring when all of that stuff melts and we get a lot of rain. To have the safety precautions in place, and don't cross the road if you don't need to go down a flooded road. And especially at night, if it does flood at night, most dangerous part of those flooding scenarios, a lot of them happen at night because people are not paying attention. So have a safety kit in your car, you know, keep your cell phone charged, because, you know, that's going to be your lifeline. And then just be safe, just be smart.
All right, Jeff, appreciate the information, and we'll keep passing along all summer long, and even in the wintertime, we start to see some storms even pop up early in January, February, depending on the weather pattern. So definitely a good thing to think about. I had talked for years about putting a kit together at home, and finally did one last year, a different style of kit, and it's a good thing to do, and it's a good thing to review and check over and have. So a lot of great information online on that. All right, Dostalek, thank you so much for all your help this month, and we'll look forward to checking back in with you next month.
Thanks, you bet.
All right, Jeff Dostalek, Fitch-Rona EMS, your deputy chief, and so much more. I'm just going to say that from now on. That's got to be on the back of the shirt. I don't know. It might be picking me up and taking me to the store, whatever. It could be anything.
There you go.
All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll continue on here on Talking Fitchburg.